What up, Raffalitos? Welcome back to my channel. Here we are back at the Kitty seawall. Today we're going to take a look at these mud flats again, and to make an argument for building hotels out here. So recently I've made a video showing you where they're going to build the new hotels that are being constructed by an investment group from Qatar. But I thought I'd bring you back out here today, near to the Kitty side of the seawall, Kitty end of the seawall, to show you the mud flats that can be filled in to build a seaside resort. So here in Guyana, as I said in previous videos, the sea is very, very shallow at the coast because of these mud flats. And in fact, at low tide, in some parts of this coast, the mud flat extends out for miles. Here at Kitty, you can see the mud flats are almost at the same height as the land beyond the seawall. More importantly, right, it's the month of Ramadan. You can see that's the sign. I should probably show you Ramadan Village before it closes at the end of the month. And this is the sign that they've placed in the center of the traffic circle to commemorate the month of Ramadan and National Ramadan Village. Right, that's the Ramadan Village. It's over on Wolford Avenue. I'll probably take a look at it sometime in the future. But that's the seawall looking west. And what I want to do is to show you this spit of land that is right next to the Kitty end of the seawall. So back in 2014, end of 2013, when I arrived in Guyana, there was a nightclub that operated on this piece of land. So what I'm showing you now is the land on the seaside of the seawall. And back in 2013, 2014, there was a nightclub that operated in this structure. I don't know who built the structure, but there's a nightclub operating in this structure. And then apparently the government outlawed it, so this is where the nightclub was. There was also a building in which people now live. Right, so this is the spit of land on which the nightclub existed. And the government outlawed it. In other words, they condemned this area of land because it was over on the other side of the seawall, and therefore not allowed for building, construction, and so on. But this is an extensive piece of land that has been above the seawall, the tides, for several decades. So long that somebody decided to build a structure, a building on this land. And what it points out, what it illustrates, is that it would take very little to fill in the land on the other side of the seawall to create the seaside resort that I'm suggesting that can be built. Right, so this is Rupert Craig Highway. We're on Rupert Craig Highway. We're heading east on the seawall. That's Kitty on the other side of the seawall. That's Kitty, right? That's Kitty. And the next street is the next street I think is Public Road, Kitty, on the other side of these buildings, running parallel to this area. This area has become a dumping ground and also a place for people who are homeless to live. So if you go through the underbrush here, you'll find homeless camps deep in this area. Right, people have moved in here to live, and some people have been using it as a dumping ground. This is on the seaside of the seawall. Alright, it's the seaside of the seawall. So there is the possibility of reclaiming this land for at least a mile out to sea, and either constructing parks on that land, in other words converting it into recreational parkland to replace the land that is being confiscated right now, or you see all of this garbage just washed in from the shore. But the point is that the city is not should not be forced to lose land in order for these hotels to be built. The government can simply reclaim land from the sea, just as they did in Dubai and parts of Asia, the Maldives, where they built hotels on the sea. You can simply reclaim land, build the land up above the tide and build your hotel on it, or build parks on land reclaimed from the sea so that you can replace the land that is being claimed, that is now being confiscated. Recreational parklands that are now being confiscated by the government to construct the Qatar hotel. So there is going to be a court fight over the land, and as I've said before, it's clear that you can't replace the space, the recreational park space in a city after you've destroyed it with construction of hotels and parking lots and swimming pools. But what you can do is simply build your hotels and your pools and parking lots on land reclaimed from the sea. And that is what this is. Most of this is sand that is washed up from the sea, but you can actually we can fetch sand out from the interior, from sand hills in Guyana, and deposit it on the mudflats to create land for construction of these new hotels. You can actually do it for the entire coast, or you can do it for the part of the coast that is around Georgetown. So you can probably build a mile of reclaimed land into the sea, just as we got land from the sea on this side. And basically this allows construction of hotels and stuff. Morning. Right, this allows you to construct hotels and as many clubs and so on as you would like, basically on land that nobody contests, right? Because no individual owns the land in the sea. These mudflats are free to build on. There would be no political fight over them if you were to reclaim these lands. And that's basically the argument I'm making in the video, that in fact there exists the possibility for these for these lands to be reclaimed. That is, the mudflats to be reclaimed. I'm just going to go out a little bit on the groin here and show you how far it goes. Alright, so I'm walking out on the ground. Behind these bushes is the construction, the building. So there's a building behind these bushes, as I was saying. But you can reclaim land. All of this land can be reclaimed for construction. This is about 100, this groin that we're walking on is at about 100 meters out into the Atlantic Ocean, and there's a channel that runs beside it because the pumping station, as you can see the pumping station exists, that pumps water out of the sea into this channel, and that water has created the channel beside on either side of the groin. But what you can see is that the land beyond the channel, the mud flats, are fairly stable. These mud flats actually grow and sink over time, but the level of these mud flats has only grown over the last decade or so. And this is what it looks like on the other side. So all of this land, you can see the building, that is a huge structure hidden by all of these new mangrove trees that was once a nightclub, right? A large nightclub. And now, as you can see out here, the nightclub has been vacated. The government, I think it was the previous coalition government, condemned this land and evicted the residents because it was illegal to build on this structure. But like I said, it's land that is stable. That structure has been up there for more than a decade, and there are other structures hidden behind these trees. All of this land exists on the Atlantic Ocean. In other words, we're now behind a seawall. As you can see, way back in the distance, that's where we've come from. The seawall is, let me see if I can zoom in on the seawall. The seawall is over there. You can barely see the pumping station and the wooden stage that was built, red and white structure. But this is where we are. We are beyond the seawall, walking out on the groin into the Atlantic Ocean. And like I said, this groin is about 100 meters out. It's 100 meters out onto the sea. And I'm going to show you how much land can be reclaimed. So even without building it up, without fetching sand out here, all of this land already exists. So what if they had built this new hotel out here, just put up another retaining wall, another seawall at the end of this groin, and simply built up the land perhaps another 10 feet higher, with sand that is trucked in from the interior, and build your hotel resort out here in the sea. Wouldn't that be much more impressive than reclaiming, than simply confiscating the Guyana National Service ground? That is simply the argument that we're making in the previous sequence of videos. We're saying that come out here, see, all of this land belongs to no one. This land is just mud flats, right? You can see from this distance, that's the dish at the Earth station. My zoom is not powerful enough to get in closer, but that's the Earth station. That's the seawall. You can see the mangrove. That's the building, the nightclub that exists, that was built more than a decade ago and that is now vacated. It's now empty. That's Kitty. You can see the roofs of the buildings in Kitty, and all the way out to Brianville. Right, all of this land exists as mud flats in the sea, and even in high tide, even at high tide, most of this land is not covered, not inundated with water. So that's what we're saying, guys. We're saying that there are other options available to the government of Guyana to utilize land in the Atlantic Ocean, land that is currently mud flats. Right, all of this land is mud flats. We're getting to the end of the groin here. This is the end of the groin. The rock here is covered with moss and therefore slippery. So I wouldn't recommend that anyone comes out here unless you were assuming the risk, right? So this is the end of this groin, and all of this land belongs to no one, right? All of this land exists on the other side of the seawall. This is the mud flat, right? These are the mud flats of Guyana. I introduced them in a previous video where I made the same argument. You can see in the distance, that's the Pegasus Suites and Corporate Center, and beyond that, that's a Marriott Hotel. And then you go all along the coast, you can see the sweep of the seawall, and this is zoomed in, right? So all of this land, let me show you the full extent of it without the zoom. All of this land exists for construction, and on which you can build a hotel or a resort, right? This is all we're saying, guys. This is the land of Guyana. All of this is free land. So there's really no reason to confiscate the parklands in Georgetown to build hotels. That's what's up, guys. That's what I'm saying out here at the mud flats. If you want to see more content like this, click like and subscribe. In the comments below, tell me what you think about this suggestion about using the mud flats to build a coastal resort. In other words, you can build on these mud flats for miles, at least a mile out to the sea, into the sea, and for miles along the coast. Make it unnecessary to destroy the parks, the recreational parklands of Georgetown. Share this video with friends and family around the world. Let people know what's happening here in Georgetown, Guyana. Later!